Hi, it's your boy Rob Alm. Alm is spelled A-L-M, coming at you from San Diego, California in 2018. The topic of this video is tips for targeted individuals. So, I do have a script for this video. I want to start off by saying, as a targeted individual, your facilities, your faculties may have been somewhat compromised. And this can have a negative effect by you essentially appearing, let's just say, crazy to other people. The rule I want to lay down is that you need to say one thing and then shut up and await a response. So whether you're interacting with a barista, a bartender, a stranger, a cop, or attorney, whatever, your boss, potential employer, you need to say one point and then shut up and await a response. Look at Alex Jones, for example, and there's a lot of targeted individuals who kind of rant. They seem to make multiple points before they shut up. This is great for a YouTube video because people can rewind the video or watch the video over again. So you can go rapid fire in a video, and I will go rapid fire. But I need to make the point that YouTube videos are one thing, and a conversation with a person is another thing. Even with family and friends, you still need to make one point, then shut up and await a response. In a way, this is, you may have heard that listening is the basic social skill. That's true, but to be more specific, make one point and then shut up and await a response. Give yourself time to think and give your conversation partner time to digest what you're saying. Remember, conversation is potentially a liability, especially with a cop, because they could make a statement which attesting that you are manic or ADHD or schizophrenic, or you're exhibiting rapid speech or incoherent thoughts or tangential communication. These are common buzzwords used by the secret system to get targeted individuals into custody, into jail or a mental institution, which is the ultimate goal, typically, for a targeted individual. Okay, so pretty simple, right? You say one thing and await a response. Basic. There are two ways you could deviate from that. One is to rant. The other is to be creepily, awkwardly silent for too long. So, the rule of thumb is you probably don't want to allow more than 5 seconds to elapse before you say something. You don't want creepy long silences, but you also don't want to rant. You want to be in that happy medium. Okay, that's my first point, and I think the most important. So definitely make a note of that. Say one thing, and shut up, and await a response. So yeah, tips for targeted individuals. First thing, know your enemy. The enemy is essentially the psychotronic torture targeting machine. Most civilians don't know when this machine began, how it began, All we know is that we have a problem. We have millions of targeted individuals throughout the world. We have mind control, synthetic telepathy, even physically painful tortures being inflicted surreptitiously. So there are kind of two aspects to this. There's the mind control, then there's like painful targeting, painful torture targeting. I'm going to subsume them both under the title of psychotronic torture targeting. Because even mind control is a form of torture. So when I say psychotronic torture targeting machine, hopefully you have an idea of what I'm talking about. I assume if you found this video, you're familiar with it either through being targeted or knowing somebody you claim to be targeted, or even reading about targeted individuals. There's a lot of names for the psychotronic torture targeting machine. I personally love specificity. I just use the English language to describe the phenomenon, describe the system, describe the technology, describe whatever it is. So specificity is good. You can call it like the beast, the machine, the system, the Illuminati, whatever. You can be vague, that's fine. But I'm going to say psychotronic torture targeting machine. You could call it the beast and the harlot. A lot of people call it the beast. You may have seen anti-beast stickers around your town. So anti-beast is a cool movement, cool concept. And my website is psychotronictruth.com. And I'll be, working on that, trying to eventually make it into a highly trafficked forum where, that cannot be compromised because I own it. I control it. I have paid for the domain and the hosting, and I have written what's on there. There's no other party controlling psychotronictruth.com. Only I have access to control it. So, and then I pay for it to be up in advance. So, in the unlikely event that I am compromised, the website will still exist for years to come. That's my vision for psychotronictruth.com. So please check back on it. I will eventually turn it into a forum as time permits. So the beast, right? That's a funny name for it. Christians believe in the beast. There's the Avenged Sevenfold song off of the epic album City of Evil, where Matt Sanders is talking about the beast and the harlot. And I think what he was trying to say, either him or Jimmy Sullivan or maybe Sinister Gates wrote that, and they were saying that you have the beast, which is like the core AI technology and hardware, and then for every targeted individual you have the harlot, which is a projection that kind of causes the torture or the mind control. So you have the beast, and then you have like multiple harlots. The other, the metaphor is the Hydra. You have like the one head with many snakes coming off of it. So these artistic symbols are representing the reality of the psychotronic torture targeting machine. So, if you want somebody to hate, go ahead and hate on Pink Floyd, hate on Avenged Sevenfold. And, a targeted individual you could hate on is Brian Tew, T-E-W. He made some interesting stuff. He makes good points. Yeah, his videos come across as rants, probably because he's being targeted as a priority, likely due to his DoD credential. kind of an Edward Snowden type figure. Brian too. So check his videos out. If you need somebody to hate on, just go watch Brian 2 and then go hate on him. But don't hate on me. I'm just repeating basically what he said and clarifying the points in a way that is hopefully useful. Okay, so we gotta have a vision here. A huge problem. I mean, the basic principle of military conflict and conquest and power is divide and conquer. You divide, you conquer. A united enemy is very difficult to defeat, but a scattered enemy, isolated targets are not a threat. So we, the American people, the citizens of the United States of America, that the Constitution is referring to, we need to be a united force working in unison, in harmony, to dismantle the psychotronic torture targeting machine. So we'll take legislation. A big problem is that psychotronic torture targeting doesn't seem to be illegal. We need to make it illegal. We need to get the legislation through Congress. There have been acts, such as various acts that actually mention psychotronic technology with the purpose of making that technology illegal, verboten, banned, forbidden. All right, so, vision is good. You need to have kind of this idea that you're part of the army of citizens fighting the psychotronic torture targeting machine. War has been declared against us. War has been, in fact, engaged in. So thus, we're at war whether we like it or not. Obviously, always obey the law, but we will, in this democracy or democratic republic, we will unite to get the legislation through Congress to make psychotronic torture targeting illegal. That's the vision that we all need to have. So that's the goal. Now, an objective, to get to that goal is for us all to survive and even thrive. So to be comfortable, physically comfortable, not socially comfortable, but like physically comfortable, have housing, have good diets, water, maybe a little exercise, relationships, love, support, communication, time to think, time to journal, time to plan, time to articulate our ideas. Cultivate alliances with other targeted individuals. Network with other targeted individuals. Don't be a coward. Don't fear associating with other targeted individuals. So what? Maybe, the AI system finds out that you are associating and increases your targeting a little bit. That's really not a big deal. Look at you probably have relatives or descendants who have died in wars. You've been shot and machine gunned or gassed with chemical weapons, hacked up with swords. For us to endure a little bit of torture targeting psychotronically, which you can just mitigate via the strategies I'm about to give you, that's minor compared to what our forefathers had to endure to fight for freedom. So yeah, we are fighting for freedom. We are patriots. And we are actually fighting. We are not revolutionaries. We are fighting the revolutionaries. We are essentially the law. We are the lawful citizens who are fighting the revolutionaries. Don't ever be deceived that you are a revolutionary. You're not revolutionary. You're not a revolutionary. You are fighting the unlawful and evil revolutionaries who have developed this torture targeting system and can allow it to be maintained and even increase its ability to inflict torture. So don't be a coward, associate. The United States military-industrial complex motive is domination. You could speculate that it's sex, money, and power at its root. Sex, money, and power, great. Everyone wants sex, money, and power, right? It's just these people have gone way off the deep end on ethics in their efforts to torture and destroy the middle class, keep everyone poorer and poorer, inflict austerity, and then part of inflicting austerity is the torture. Hopefully you see the big picture here. I'll make a video on the big picture later. This one's trying to focus in on tactics that you can do right now to avoid or mitigate the torture targeting. Do not believe what the synthetic telepathy induced by the psychotronic torture targeting machine thinks, because the psychotronic torture targeting machine is kind of thinking into you via synthetic telepathy at all times, pretty much, with peaks and valleys on a pattern that's calculated by an algorithm. So, if you understand that, you're just like, okay, well, things are going to get worse, then they'll get better and worse and better and worse and better. And my job is just to be unreactive. Just survive. And don't come across as crazy. Your worst enemy is jumping to conclusions because, this thing will maybe inject absurd ideas. And then if you start to believe them and then you articulate them to a cop or a psychiatrist, boom, you're in a mental institution. So, just because you might think something doesn't mean that's true. Just assume you know nothing. No evidence, no belief. All you know is your bank balance, your cash on hand, some options on where to go. That's all you really know. Then you have, you keep lists. Try Workflowy. It's really good for organizing your thoughts. Workflowy is good. It's an app that syncs to your desktop. So, if you type in a note on your desktop, it'll show up on your phone and vice versa. You type it into your phone, that note will show up on your desktop. So you can stay kind of linked up and organized without accumulating a bunch of piles of papers and stuff. You just keep it all in Workflowy. And then, maybe export it and print it out occasionally to back it up. So yeah, basic ideas here are that you have belief and knowledge, so-called knowledge, what you think you know. The fact is, the psychotronic torture targeting machine can basically inceive and extract. If you watch Inception, these are clearly defined. The Christopher Nolan movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, Ken Watanabe. That concept is clearly articulated that there's that inception and extraction are possible. What is inception? What is extraction? Inception is where you plant ideas into somebody's mind, or more precisely, you kind of encourage ideas that are already sort of the foundation's been laid for them, and the synthetic telepathy machine kind of puts a spin on those so it's believable to you, so you actually believe it, and ultimately act in a way that gets you, into a mental institution. That's kind of the goal. Extraction is the opposite, where they kind of erase memories. Extraction can work to an extent, but it usually takes a really long time. It's probably easier for them to plant plant ideas, plant memories, than it is for them to erase out knowledge. Okay, so, your goal should be to start articulating your political agenda to dismantle the psychotronic torture targeting machine. That is your long-term agenda. and then get your agenda in writing electronically on a computer, in the cloud, in your email. You can just get a free Gmail account if you don't have one already, and then back everything up into your Gmail. You just email yourself everything with a text or an attachment. You can generate PDFs and attach those, or you can just dump the text. You do an email, send it to yourself. It's up there. You don't have to worry about your computer getting stolen or lost. You don't have to worry about losing your phone with all your notes. Workflow backs it up the same way. But the point is, articulate what you think and what you think should be done for the greater cause. Okay, so that's a long-term goal. Obviously, in the short term, you survive, you stay out of prison or a mental institution. In the long term, we together mastermind how to dismantle the psychotronic torture targeting machine while we have this window of opportunity before things get worse. Okay, here's the secret. If you've seen Inception, you remember Leonardo DiCaprio. They say he gets dunked. He falls. He's tied up in the chair, and then he falls into the tub, and he kind of wriggles around in the tub, and that's when he wakes up on another level. Okay, you need to submerge your head in water for a long period of time. Bathtub, so just take a bath, but keep your head submerged so that your nose can breathe. That is my number one recommendation. And then even you may even hear clicking or banging noises as the energy flows into your brain are disrupted. So that's highly beneficial to all targeted individuals is to do that. Probably twice a day, ideally. You want to take a bath with your head underwater for as much time as is reasonable, maybe a half hour, ideally. Okay, next one, never commit a crime. The goal is to get all targeted individuals who are usually dissidents, whistleblowers, free thinkers, patriots, right wing, left wing, moderates. There's a lot of people. Anyone smart basically is going to be a targeted individual as soon as the AI system finds out about them. So yeah, never commit a crime. Don't compromise your freedom. Once you commit a crime, it's over. You're done. You're screwed. Okay, which keep your money up. Don't spend money frivolously. This is really easy to do if you're on the run. Just really be parsimonious on your purchases and expenditures. The more you have in the bank, the more you have in cash, the more you have invested, the better off you are. So for most people, this is going to mean you have to keep the income flowing in. So yeah, you got to keep the income flowing in. That's your biggest problem, and you have to think about that because only you know what your skills are. Only you know how you can earn money. Torture targeting systems work better in a capitalist country than they do in a socialist country. Because in a socialist country, the person who's targeted would just kind of sit back and say, well, I'm out of the game, give me my check. But in a capitalist system, you have to run around and gather income, which is difficult to do when you're targeted. So that's your biggest challenge, is make money legally at all costs. Here's another tip. Use numbered codes to represent common activities or places to yourself. So, 0 could be clean or take a bath, 1 could be organized, 2 could be work, 3 could be socialize, 4 could be, go to the library, 5, coffee shop, etc. You can do things like that. And then you can do 8 means psychotronic. You put that on your notes. 8 equals anything psychotronic related. 9 equals anything legal related. 10 could mean sleep, so on and so forth. This is probably better to use than to actually write the words because the AI may or may not find out and kind of understand what you're doing if you write a plan. But if you can write the plan in numbered codes, it'll throw it off. And Brian too has good commentary on throwing off the targeting machine. So check his stuff out. if you have a lot of time, but it's kind of scattered. He doesn't really condense it very well. So you use lists and simple schedules, but try to kind of encode them a little bit to confuse the AI. Otherwise, you'll find yourself targeted wherever you go. If you're making really explicit plans or whatever. A way to look at this, and another way to look at this is the Eagle Eye movie. If you watch the movie Eagle Eye, this kid is being, whatever his name is, being chased around by this artificial intelligence targeting system. It's kind of metaphorical for what's going on in America right now. Set up a green, yellow, orange, red alert system for yourself for your own purposes, so you know what's happening. You kind of maybe even keep a log of when things were not bad, then when things got bad, when they went back to good. So green is good, red is bad, and then you just, if you feel weird sensations, just be okay, red alert, be careful. Maybe you go to the bathroom, just chill out, don't necessarily go out in public. If physically tortured, try to stand upright, yet relaxed in the bathroom stall until it goes away. Typically, it doesn't last that long. Like the bursts of extreme torture seem to come in fairly short bursts, like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but not really longer than 30 minutes. So if you can, in a standing position can be good for, I don't know exactly why, but it seems to work pretty well. Standing but relaxed. Standing relaxed position in like a bathroom or a private area, and just wait for the torture to go away. Avoid mentioning the torture targeting to friends and family as a rule of thumb. But reach out and be friendly. Take the initiative. Now is not the time to play too cool for school. So connect, but do it in like a fun, cool, laid-back way. It might not be too fun, but do it in like kind of a casual way. Don't be dumping huge emails to all your family. Maybe you should write a kind of a memorandum, get it honed out to where you get all the bugs out of it, so you don't come across as too out there or crazy. Just stick to the facts, evidence, get it kind of polished, and then maybe do a mass email to everybody. Hey, look, this is what's going on. These are some things. I'm not going to bring it up again. I don't want to pester you with it, but this is what's going on. Maybe send that to select contacts. But you have to have empathy. You don't want to always be like, oh man, the targeting is so bad. Oh yeah. And then they're just like, all right, well, I got to go. I'm sick of talking to you. You're just a downer. I'm sick of hearing about this. It challenges my beliefs. It challenges my religion. I can't believe in psychotronic torture targeting. I don't believe that there is an internal dimension to the universe. All I can know is the external dimension of the universe. So, people are closed-minded, so don't expect people to be open-minded. Don't expect them to have a lot of time or energy to understand what you're going through. Just understand the other targeted individuals will understand. So don't expect non-targeted individuals to have empathy with you or compassion, because they don't know what you're going through. Use the word indisposed in writing, okay? If you have to send an email to your boss and you've got to take a day off because you're just too fucked up from the targeting, say, I'm indisposed in writing. And then if you see people in person, if a cop's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you walking so funny? You say, I feel under the weather. Say, I feel a little under the weather. And then leave. Never admit your theories to police. Never admit guilt to police. You are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And, I would love to see if there's memorandums from the, high authorities to the police, the low authorities, regarding people who claim to be targeted. I assume that there is a default protocol of haul them off to the loony bin and force drug them, force medicate them. I think that's kind of the standard response that officers are kind of trying to do. They're trying to arrest target individuals, in trying to incarcerate them, in trying to force medicate them. So yeah, that's, do with that what you will. I'll make a good dry video on good laws later because I have some legal knowledge, which is too extensive to fit into this video. Like I said earlier, the conversational rule of thumb is to say one thing, then shut up. That is in your best interest. What's in the best interest of the psychotronic torture targeting machine is for you to either rant or be creepily silent. Be neither. Respond to people within 5 seconds with your default statement should be, well, let me think about that. And then once you've said, well, let me think about that, now you're thinking. Now you bought unlimited time to just chill and be tortured and just sit there. It's hard for them to say that you're crazy based on silence, but it's easy for them to say you're crazy based on you doing something or saying something. So inactivity, passiveness, unreactiveness is your friend. Activity and doing things is often your enemy, especially in a social context. Another point is, okay, and then back on that, never allow someone to force you into a decision before you have had time to think. Like people might run up to you and say, hey, we need your signature on this. You're admitting you're mentally ill. You're admitting you're insane. You're consenting to go to prison for the rest of your life. Whatever it is, just be like, no, I need to think about that before I sign it. Be cool and friendly. This is a separate point. Be cool and friendly to employees of establishments if possible. People will often tolerate bizarre behavior from you if you set the tone of the relationship as being cool up front. You have to be, if you come across cool and high status, but you actually like the person and you're listening to them, then this will activate their social cortex in a way that works to your advantage. A basic equation is cool equals high status, yet humble and friendly. So I've had times where this has worked to my advantage, that I had been kind of friendly to staff and then got hit with torture, probably acted somewhat bizarrely, or at least silent or just doing nothing for a long period of time, and then they kind of overlooked it, and probably because we had kind of a cool interaction when I first met them. Another point is avoid committing to a location if it's easy to avoid committing to a location. During times of torture targeting, move around to different places. Yeah. So, like Brian 2 says, spontaneity is good. So don't be tied down to a location. Have options on locations. Know a map of your city where you can go. Because this thing is like eagle eye. It's geographical. It's finite. All artificial intelligence is finite. It does not know everything. It only makes guesses, typically based on your past behavior that it knows about. It takes the past that it knows about, uses that data to extrapolate the future, and then it kind of like warms up the environments that it thinks you're going to go to. So if you can just stay clear of environments and be very spontaneous, you will throw it off and the torture will be minimized. Psychotronic displacement is interesting because the internal dimension of reality can be defined as consciousness, and the external dimension would be like just Newtonian physics, matter, basic stuff, 2x4s, framing, and drywall, right? So you need to understand the psychotronic universe a little bit. What you need to know is just as energy has some mass, so also consciousness has some mass. So how you apply this is you go to places with heavy concentrations of human activity, especially complicated information processing, combining human brains and the internet, coffee shops, etc. Another way to do this is to get on the phone with people and displace the psychotronic targeting with useful or purposeful communication. A default could be to call random businesses and say, "Hey, are you hiring?" It's not illegal, even if you don't. Just say, "Are you hiring?" And maybe to have a conversation with them, and then get the runaround and do that. And this can do psychotronic displacement because you're occupying the dimension of consciousness with content, with another real person, with electronics, with you, with them. And the psychotronic torture targeting might be displaced, have a hard time getting in and actually torturing you or actually doing synthetic telepathy if you are in constant communication with other people. Particularly when you're using a phone. Phones can be useful. Yeah. Okay, smoking tobacco is an interesting way to jog creativity prior to journaling. I would view it as kind of a wartime exigency. Obviously, I would never smoke tobacco if I didn't think it was beneficial. It's not healthy for your lungs, but it can have benefits. But don't do it as like a narcotic. Just do it as a stimulant before you journal. So that would be the only appropriate use of tobacco. And I would recommend pouch tobacco smoked through a water pipe, not cigarettes. And then, smoking cigarettes is it might be useful to have a pack of cigarettes on you and a lighter. So if you get torture targeted, you can kind of just like, hey, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette and just bail out of work or wherever you're at, just go smoke a cigarette. It's kind of like a social convention that it's okay for people to like go smoke a cigarette. It's like an acceptable addiction. So you can use that little glitch in the matrix. Like even if you don't need to smoke a cigarette, you just go out there, light the cigarette, and like pretend to smoke it or take a few drags. You kind of just hold it down by your side, burning for a few minutes, and hopefully the psychotronic targeting goes away, and then you go back in and resume your interaction. It's a way to buy time. Let's see here. Another trick is look to the left and not the right by default. Not in public or anything, but like if you just are sitting around, you can look to the left, which will activate logical circuits, not as many creative circuits. So that can work to your advantage, help you think more logically. The last thing you need is creativity when you're in wartime being psychotronically targeted. What you need is more logic. And the left, for most people, is more logical. The right is more creative. Let's see. I have used proximity to transformers or streetlights to fry out directed energy attacks. This is not a standard technique, but I have done that. Yeah, sometimes if you can sense where the directed energy is emanating from, you can put your brain or targeted body part so that the voltage, it has to be high voltage, like 13,800 volts, like you find in a transformer, in the back of a transformer, not the front, or in a street light. That has worked and seemed to alleviate targeting for me in the past. Just make sure you understand that you're getting the voltage between you and the source of the directed energy weapon. So the directed energy has to go through this voltage field and is foiled. It's fried out. Okay, so play dumb. Like I said, a conversation, particularly with a stranger, particularly with a cop, is a liability. It could also be an asset. You could make a friend. You could build your support network. But it could potentially be a liability if they are the kind who wants to report you as crazy or whatever. If they just don't like you. A way to handle these situations is play dumb. There's no law against being stupid. So if you can play dumb, that could work to your advantage. You might want to think about that Working out is interesting. I would say work out only during periods of minimal torture targeting, so like green or maybe yellow. Chances are you will be walking a lot to evade torture targeting. So be getting some exercise anyways walking. Muscle is an asset, so put on muscle if you have the chance. Do not eat very low carb. Forget about your six pack. Just whatever. Eat enough carbs to have energy. Always eat high protein. Feeling hunger is an opportunity to nourish yourself. Have protein bars or meat handy. Sometimes with torture targeting, your appetite will come and go. It'll fluctuate more than natural. So you want to have protein-rich food to eat when the hunger hits, and that will help nourish you. And if you eat protein like meat or whatever, protein shake or protein bar, or even milk, or eggs, that can help you keep muscle, put you in a catabolic state, not an anabolic state. Maximize your hygiene. Your goal should be to look like a cool, poor person who is traveling, not like a homeless person or bum. So, think of times you've seen a cool looking, but probably poor person traveling. It's a very different vibe and a very different look than just a bum or a homeless person or a mentally ill person who's homeless. Project that frame. Cool, just a cool person who's traveling. And even if you're in the same, if you're within a city, you're still traveling because you're evading torture targeting. But other people, they might think that you're like from out of town or that you're on your way out of town, so they don't know. And if people ask, you can just be like, yeah, I'm traveling. What do you do? Oh, I'm traveling. What are they gonna say? It's true. If you're walking from like Starbucks to Starbucks just to avoid torture, then yeah, you are by definition traveling. Okay. The psychotronic torture targeting machine has, it seems to have some ability to defile water and beverages, especially water, and even food and tobacco. Not sure how the hell that works, but it seems to be that it has an ability to defile water. So you have to think about that. It definitely defiles water and beverages easier than it does food. There's something about water that just makes it easy to defile. Definitely drink plenty of water. There are bizarre technologies that do strange things, and oftentimes, the rule of thumb is just a gallon a day of water. And go to, buy water, or don't drink tap water, because God knows what's in there. Hopefully get filtered water from, like a dispenser in front of a grocery store, or preferably just buy brand new gallons of water. Yeah, buy gallons, don't buy like little bottles, it'll waste your money. But if you buy a gallon of water a day, it's only like, $1 a day. Food, water, and a multivitamin are mandatory every day. So you need those three things: food, water, multivitamin. Use 211. Try to get some free shit, especially if you're unemployed. Don't give them ammunition to throw you in a mental hospital. Just say, I don't have a job. If you don't have a job, you don't have a job. And give up this idea of like needing to explain yourself. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to. You can say the facts in a way that gets you what you need. There's nothing wrong with that. Never quit or give up. Visualize your children and their children, your grandchildren, and even your great-grandchildren, right? Stay motivated. You're here to survive and reproduce, essentially. Just because life's hard does not mean that you should, give up or even, God forbid, kill yourself. That would just be handing the psychotronic torture targeting machine victory. So you need to tap into your inner rebel and say, no, I'm going to fight the torture targeting machine for my entire life, for the sake of myself and my children, my grandchildren, and, you know, all of humanity. I'm going to expose the psychotronic torture targeting machine. I'm going to make it mainstream. We're going to get legislation passed, so on and so forth. So never give up, never quit. Think constantly. You know, they're always the psychotronic torture targeting machine is always trying to shut down your thinking process, or at least pervert it to make it useless or ineffective. So you want to always be thinking. Now, you want to survive. Like, the number one thing is to think in order to survive. You also want to think in order to win. Winning to me would look like a UBI, Universal Basic Income, being implemented in America, funded by a tax on capital. You know, possibly, if you don't understand that, I feel sorry for you, but like, that is it in a nutshell. Universal Basic Income funded by a tax on capital. That's kind of the agenda here. And that obviously is anathema to ultra high net worth individuals. So ultra high net worth individuals are, you know, targeting people who would espouse this idea. Even anyone smart enough to come to that conclusion eventually, they will target them, so they never arrive at the idea of a UBI funded by a tax on capital. That's their enemy, is a UBI funded by tax on capital. Also, nationalizing the Federal Reserve, and then maybe even reneging on the national debt would be possible. You know, and then the last one's fun. Just make fun of the psychotronic torture targeting machine in any way you can, as long as, like, don't look crazy ever. But, you know, if you're alone and no one can hear you, then if you have any, like, say you've written down some things that it has injected, you can, like, make fun of them. You can make up funny names for it. You know, kind of like if you're like in school trying to be a bully, like, just try to bully the psychotronic torture targeting machine with your own thoughts, and even, like, imitate it or whatever, and just change the frame from, like, oh, I'm a victim, oh no, I'm being tortured, to, no, you're little fucking, you know, whatever insult. I don't want to be politically incorrect here, but insult the psychotronic torture targeting machine. You know, I call it the wee, right, in my head, because it seems to like to think in these stupid thoughts that are like, we are torture targeting the target with torture. Like, it always starts with we. So I call it the wee. It's like, oh, the wee. I'm the wee. I'm the torture target. I'm the torture target. So, you know, just kind of like make fun of it. And then, you know, I'm not going to, like, say all the insults I would, like, think against it, but, like, go ahead and do that. That is interesting. You can make it into a game, try to have a little fun if you can. Yeah, so insulting, teasing, taunting, reframing, arguing, debating, and humiliating the torture targeting machine in your own head is an interesting sport. What you're doing there is you are exerting your internal will. A lot of people know about the external will, like get out of bed in the morning and go to work. You know, lift the heavy weights, clean the kitchen, even though you don't want to. That's external will. But internal will is where you can control your thoughts. And, you know, if you can control your thoughts and, like, make fun of the beast, make fun of the wee, yeah, that will work in your advantage. That is pretty much it. You could also, you know, make up a name for yourself of the opposite sex in your head. So you think of yourself as like kind of a fake name in your head. That's the opposite sex, and then the machine would, like, not know what to do with that. It's an interesting tactic. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you watched this whole thing, appreciate you listening. Check out my website at psychotronictruth.com. You know, I'll make other videos in the future, but that's pretty much it for the tactics that I have to help you, targeted individual, or a targeted individual that you know or love. You know, help them survive, and you know, ultimately We will use the constitutional United States federal government to defeat and dismantle the unconstitutional United States federal government.